We're going to be talking about my winning your week method. And winning your week method is all about how I've been able to perfect creating a system for me to do all the things without the chaos and the overwhelm and the burnout and all the things. And I know it might feel a little bit like it's impossible, but I promise you that it is possible to do. So we're going to be diving in that today. You're going to want to take notes. You're going to want to be listening. This is so important. I think that at the beginning of the year, we set all these goals, we do all these things. We're like, all right, now we got to get to work. Now we have to actually execute and we got to figure out how we're going to do all these things. And a lot of it comes with struggle and friction. And the whole point of today is to kind of show you how you can change that. Now, if you are here, it is because you are wanting to figure out how to gain more time and how to still get shit done without the constant stress and overwhelm and confusion. You also want to get to a point where you're able to show up every day, get to work, already know what your day's priorities are, how you're going to tackle them. Let us know in the chat. Is that something that you struggle with? Are you just like, I sit down, I immediately just get to work, I start checking my emails, the phone's ringing, all the things are happening, but you really don't feel like you have the priorities set for your day. You really aren't sure how you're going to tackle all the things on your to-do list. You want to create more blank space without feeling like you have to constantly fill in the space. How many of you feel like, okay, I have like the afternoon, or I have an hour, or maybe somebody took your kids for a little while, or maybe an appointment that you had ended up canceling or rescheduling. You're like, okay, I've got some time. Like, what should I do with myself now? And you constantly feel the need to fill it with like more productive stuff to do. Does anybody feel that? Hi, hello. I have definitely felt that before. I definitely understand how that feels. Or maybe you want to be able to slow down. You want to be able to simplify things. You want to be able to create more of that space in your time, your calendar, so that you can actually speed up, so that you can focus on things you know are the needle movers, but you tend to just do the mundane, easy to execute stuff instead of really being able to get into deep work and really focus on the stuff that you know you need to be doing. It's just too chaotic and too messy. And you know that if you just keep going and you just keep hammering, maybe you'll get through it. But the truth is that you need to create the space so that you can speed up while also finding more joy and fulfillment in your day. If those are things that you're feeling, you're thinking, you're like, yes, that's me raising my hand, totally relate, then I want you to know you are exactly in the right space. You are exactly where you need to be right now. Okay, so this is a great investment of your time for you showing up. So bravo to all of you that are here live. And also, even if you made time to watch the replay, I understand these things. And I say that you're probably here or feeling these things because I have been there, right? I still get in those moments today, but by creating the system that I've created and this method that I've worked on, it happens a lot less frequently and I'm able to do a lot more. And I was living in this space and this mentality of just get shit done. I have called myself, actually, I've been also called the make it happen captain, right? You just kind of make it happen. You white knuckle your way through getting things done. And this getting shit done mentality was just the way I was programmed for so long, that I was blindly doing things without any type of system or any way to maximize the time and the energy that I had. And eventually things started to break. And eventually things will break if they're not already breaking for you now, whether that is you start having issues physically, mentally, your relationships start to break, your business starts to break, things start to kind of just start cracking. We tend to think that over time, hard work ethic is just going to be what we need to do, right? We start to believe this thing that more input into what you're doing is going to create the output. And if you think about it, a hamster on a hamster wheel tends to be awfully busy running on the hamster wheel. Do you ever feel like that? That you're just running on a hamster wheel, like you're a hamster on a wheel, just like running in circles, but you're really never going anywhere kind of thing. We just tend to make it happen, right? But at what expense? Your physical expense, your mental expense, the expense of your work and life experience. And this is what your life looks like day in and day out. We can always work and get more money, but we can't get more time. And time, through the kind of getting shit done mentality, started to be the thing that I felt like I was losing my grip on more than anything. And as I became more successful as an entrepreneur, and as I started having more kids, and as my business started growing, and as more things started getting put on my plate, I felt like my life is just going by and I am just getting shit done. The truth is that I lacked systems. I lacked systems to deal with the struggles that I was facing in being able to do these things. And I needed systems that would help supercharge who I am as an entrepreneur, who I am as a person, really let me live in my zone of genius. Because at the end of the day, I wanted a business that I owned and not one that owned me. The universal truth is that we all struggle to find ways to juggle everything when it has to do with our time. We all have a finite amount of time in our day. Every one of us, you'll hear the saying, right? We all have 24 hours in our day. And there are people that are doing more than you in the 24 hours of their day, and they're making you feel inadequate or making you lack that confidence that you can actually get these things done. And you wonder, like, how are they doing all of these things? And I'm sure some people have even thought that about me, like, oh, wow, I hear all these things. I'm gonna talk about it in a minute if you're kind of new to my world of like who I am and all the things that I have. But we all have a finite amount of time. Now, all of us have different types of time and what we do with our time, depending on our individual situation and the things that we have on our plate. And this is why I love this method so much, because it's not a specific, here's like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, just like I'm doing it, exactly how I'm doing it, and it's going to work for you. It's no, this is a method that's going to teach you how to create the system for you in your life and where you're at. But I knew that if I didn't do something, the bigger my business grew, the bigger my life grew, the more money I had to do things that I wanted to do with, the more my suffering actually was going to grow. And that's exactly what happened. So I started trying new things. I started doing research. I sort of began this quest to get more time freedom for myself. And I know some of you that are on here have also been on this quest for a little while, and you've made some changes and it's helped, but it's like, okay, I'm still not getting to where I want to get. And the reason why is you're probably missing one of the things that I'm going to teach you today. So here's a little bit about how it showed up for me and like what are the things that I did. Before I get into that, for those of you that are new to my world, I want to give you a little bit of context and kind of why you should be listening to me and what this actually means for you. I am a mom of three. I have kids from the ages of 5 to 11, and I'm a CEO and owner of 5 businesses in different industries, ranging from an insurance agency to two manufacturing companies that sell products. We import, export, we distribute all over the world. We have real estate, commercial real estate, residential real estate, and I also have an online business for consulting and strategy for women entrepreneurs. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in organizational psychology, and I'm a dissertation away from getting my doctorates. And that has been about 13 years now. I still haven't decided if I want to get that and actually be called a doctor one day. That might happen. But organizational psychology, for those of you that don't know, it's really understanding the psychology of business and organizations and how all those things work and the people that are in them and how they do the things that they do and why. After saying all of that, if anybody knows what you're going through when it comes to getting it all done and trying to do all the things, it's me. I have been doing this for over 13 years, and my zone of genius is creating systems and processes to basically hack every aspect of my business, my time, how much money I make, and how my life quality is. That's literally what I did with this method. So my number one goal is to always have as much time freedom as possible while still building my empire so that I can do all the things that I want to do in this one precious life I have, and still enjoying the journey while I have the opportunity to have this life, right? But my mission is to show up as I go through these new levels and as I master some of these things to help it be a possibility for you too. And that's why I show up. And like I said, especially at the beginning of the year, we love to set goals. We are an ambitious bunch of entrepreneurs, and it's not just about setting goals, but creating systems that give you the processes that you need to lead you to reaching them. How many of us have set goals this year so far, just saying, okay, here's what I want to tackle. These are the things. Maybe we've created some vision boards. Maybe we've even created some measurables attached to these goals. And we're like, by this quarter or by this time, I want to reach these things. Maybe you've also done this in the past few years and you still aren't able to achieve the things that you want to achieve, or you have these things, you're like, okay, like now how do I get it done? Or when do I schedule these things? And in what order should I be doing them? And what's the method? What's the real way that I have been able to do this? And not only that, but people and clients that I work with have learned this and been able to create the system for themselves. And one of the things I think is really important before we dive into those is that you're probably thinking it's a time issue. It's like, okay, I don't have enough time. There's just not enough time. I'm telling you right now, it's not a time issue. It's a capacity issue. And the thing that solves the capacity issue is two things. One is clarity. You have to be super clear on a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. And the second thing that's going to solve this capacity issue for you and give you back more of your time, which you think is your real issue, is systems. That means you've felt frustrated with trying to do all the things, that some of you might be working until midnight and waking up in the morning with no energy, feeling like, great, I get to do it all again today. And I have said this in the past, like, it's just a season, right? It's just this chapter in my life. It's going to get better. When I do or finish X, I'm going to have more time. So some of you are using this whole it's a season as a crutch and as an excuse to like not have to focus or get anything done. The thing is that we've been so programmed into the get shit done mentality that we don't realize this is how we're functioning. And I'm guessing that you don't want to function this way anymore because it's causing stress in your relationships. And like I mentioned, the mental, the physical, like we will just keep going until we basically kill ourselves. If you're anything like I was, you tend to just move, sometimes without taking steps, sometimes without a plan. Your moves that you're doing aren't being filtered to what's really and truly a priority for you to move the needle in the areas that matter to you in your life and your business, and you're not executing off a system. That leads us to having decision fatigue. For those of you that are constantly having to make decisions because you don't really have a system or process for this, and it ends up clouding the way that you can focus, and it drains your energy because you're constantly having to make decisions. You're constantly having to go back and try to find the things in your head and all this mental load and cloudiness, than being able to just make decisions and move on and keep going back to where you need to be in that moment. Or you are perpetually overbooking your calendar because you feel like if I just get these things on my calendar, then it's going to get done. And we all know that that's not the truth. You might be thinking that just hustling harder, and maybe you just have to muster through and figure out a way to soldier on and work 12-hour days, and maybe sometimes in your weekends, because it's just what it takes in order to be successful. I'm going to be giving you some news on some things that have happened just this month in our insurance business that are, it's going to blow your mind. And I'm going to remind you how much it actually takes in time and energy to get these things done. Let's dive into a little bit about what this method looks like. I'm going to share my screen. So after years of trial and error and working through different iterations and reiterating systems, I found the ways that I can use this process no matter where I am in the journey of my life, the changes that might come about, because we all know that things ebb and flow, right? And this is about getting a system in place and applying it so that you can win your week forever. I'm going to go over, there's 4 sections of this method, and we're going to dive into each of them just a little bit. So the first part of the winning your week method is all about setting priorities and auditing your time. I realized that without any kind of overarching North Star or any kind of umbrella theme or idea of what matters to me the most and what I truly want, I don't really have a starting point or a direction that I'm going. And what happened was I realized everything's just coming at me, right? Like all the things are coming at me, and I am constantly on the defense, and I am just like showing up ready for war. And I just have to move. I'm in survival mode, which was not always keeping me focused on what mattered, and ended up with me being in directions that I wasn't in control of. So when you don't set your priorities, when you don't know what the overarching theme of your life and your business and the things that you want to achieve are, you end up just reacting. You end up just moving, and you end up staying stuck in that get shit done mentality that's going to get you to move. Oh, you're moving, you're on that hamster wheel, but you're not in control of where you're going, if you're going anywhere at all. And it is the best way to make sure you have those priorities. But the way to do that, there is an actual tactical way for you to get started. And the best way to figure out the starting point is to find out where your time is going right now. And so we do something I call a time audit. I want you to audit your time. I want you to start tracking. And if you've been in my world for a while, you have heard me talk about tracking and how important tracking things are. If we can't get some kind of raw data and put numbers and figures and something visual to the thing that we're trying to process and figure out, we don't know what's happening. There's no way to analyze, right? We think, we feel, especially us women, we have, our intuition and our gut is telling us what we think is happening, but really we don't know unless we're tracking things. And I have learned as a successful business owner that I can't make decisions if I don't know the numbers. Doing a time audit is really like a red light, green light test on what you're actually doing with your time. And when you can audit your time and you have it visually in front of you, you're going to be able to analyze, what am I spending time on? Not just what am I spending time on, but like the stuff that I'm spending my time on, is this really something that's a priority and that matters to me? Have I been using this time aligned with the priorities that I'm seeing in this overarching theme and umbrella idea, or this North Star of my life, the values that I have, the things I say are important to me? Am I spending time on those? And if so, how much? Or if not, how little? I work with a lot of clients to figure out what their hourly rate is. I actually just did a YouTube video about this last week, is figuring out what your hourly rate is and honoring that time that you have and that hourly rate that you have. So let's just say you take the money that you make for the year, you divide it by however many hours a week you work, but typically it's around 2,080 hours in the work week, and figuring out how much money do you make per hour. Here's something that's, I'm going to say it twice, okay, because it's going to hit home. If you're making $100 an hour, you got to stop doing $10 an hour tasks. If you figure out that you're maybe making $100 an hour and you do a time audit and you realize you're spending 20 hours a week doing $10 an hour tasks, something's not working. It's so much easier for us to show up and do the mindless, mundane bullshit tasks that are probably a $10 an hour task, because it's easier for us to execute on those things than to actually have to really find the things that are the needle movers and do the deep work. And we don't have time for it. Sometimes it feels like it's easier to just tick off the easy things on your to-do list because you're like, okay, I'm getting a lot of stuff done. I'm the hamster on the hamster wheel being busy. Busy doesn't always equal money. Busy doesn't always equal freedom. And so when you do a time audit and you really set those priorities, you can start finding where you're wasting your time, where you're actually doing the work you need to be doing, how that work threads and aligns to your priorities, and what's going to get you the life that you want and the business that you want. So super important to figure out where your starting point is by doing a time audit and really looking at that and setting what the priorities are in your life. There is a video, or like this analogy, I think it's this professor, and I saw this video many years ago, and some of you may have, let me know if you've seen this or you've heard this, but if you have a jar, just think of like a jar or a glass vase, and you're filling it up with a bunch of little rocks. Okay, so think of the little rocks with the $10 an hour task. And then you are maybe filling it up with some water. And it's going to get to a point where it's going to fill up. And then your big overarching themes and priorities and values that you have in your life that are important to you are bigger rocks. And you try to put them in the jar and you're trying to fill them in. And then you have, maybe some things that are not important to you, but you got to get done, or it's the emails, the things that are coming through. It's somebody else's agenda that you are getting attacked with whatever it is that you need to get done. It's another form of a filler in this space. And you're realizing that at some point, you're not going to have enough space in this vase or in this jar to fill it up with the priorities, the bigger rock things that are important to you in your life, because you've run out of space. You're giving too much space to the stuff that really doesn't matter, that's always coming at you. The goal is, with setting your priorities and auditing your time, is to put those big rocks in there first, and then what's left over, being able to fill in the rest of the stuff. Okay. So that's how I want you to think about your priorities. I want you to think of them as these big things that you need to fill that base up first. And then Whatever open space you have left, if you choose to fill it up with the other things, go for it. But we have to start setting that and understanding and being very aware and conscious about what we're doing with our time and how we're aligning that with our priorities. The second part of the method is creating a second brain and inboxes. I'm going to explain what that means because you're like, what do you mean by second brain? I can barely handle the one brain that I have in my head. There was so much information to store. There is so much information to store. I mean, let alone with technology today and all the things that are coming at us, it's almost impossible. And everybody thinks they have ADHD. A lot of people do. And I've actually been diagnosed with it. But it just like we have these tendencies and these symptoms of this type of stuff because there's just so much. And so with all that information that we're getting, your mind is absorbing it all. And your mind's also trying to process through all of that. And so I had to store all this information and try to process it in my mind. And that's where it all was. It was all in my head. I can't tell you how many times I work with clients and we're talking about creating processes and SOPs in their business and trying to hire for people to be able to do these processes and all of this stuff and just trying to systematize. And I'm like, okay, cool. So where is this process documented? Where have you captured the steps that need to be taken in this task when you want somebody to complete it? I'm like, well, it's in my head. I'm like, great, well, that's helpful, right? The idea is that we really have no way when we have all this information we're trying to store in our head, and our brain is actually meant to process information, not store it. Because if we're trying to constantly input information into our head, there's a certain capacity that we have that your brain starts to eliminate information in its brain, and you start forgetting things and you start forgetting memories and all this stuff because it can only store so much. And so your brain's going to make decisions on what to eliminate. And it's really hard as you're trying to process and store new information coming at you all the time to filter through the information on how to store it easily, where you can find it, or for ways for you to have the capacity and energy to even be able to process through some of that information when you need to. And it hinders us from being able to move and do things quickly and with quality without having 1,000 tabs open in our head. How many of us have said, like, I have so many tabs open in my head, like a window browser? And what happens is we have all these tabs open. We're trying to keep those tabs open because I know some of you will keep tabs open on your browser because you don't want to forget you have to do this thing. And we're trying to multitask and do all of these things in the different browsers all at once. And that is the biggest aspect and the biggest section of not having a place where you can create a second brain and you can have inboxes for things and you can filter through information, you can process information that leads to your burnout, because the mental load is just impossible to keep control of and it's not effective. And so I was wasting time being frustrated that I wasn't productive on what I was actually needing to do in the moments. It's just like, imagine holding 10 items in your hand and trying to cook a meal. You're trying to follow a recipe, you're trying to cook a meal, and you have to hold on to all these things. It's possible to do it, but what type of meal are you going to cook? What's going to be the result that you end up with? And how are you going to feel by the end of it? You're going to be exhausted, probably going to taste like shit. You're not even going to have the energy by the end of this to even enjoy the meal. And you still are holding on to all this stuff. And so creating a second brain is this idea of using a tool, using technology, using a space, even if it's like a pen and paper system, but really creating a system where you can take all the stuff that's coming at you, you can use automation and just have it in inboxes and having it stored and having it filtered and having it a place where you can eliminate all this stuff in your head and have a place that you can go where you can store all this stuff and make it effective for you and efficient for you. So organizing information by context, depending on if it has to do with business and different sections in your business, if it has to do with your home life, it has to do with mom life, if it has to do, with your personal life, whatever that looks like, and organizing that information by context and then using your second brain as a tool. So that's the second part of the method, is creating a place where you can put all that stuff, filter through it, and we can now have a system for all the information that's coming at us. The third piece of the Winning Your Week method is about creating routines and habits. And so I started setting my priorities, auditing my time, figuring out where my time was going, making sure that my priorities were the front runners of where my time was going. I went ahead and started creating a second brain and creating inboxes and using automation and using tools and different systems that I can make sure everything that was coming at me was able to go in the different categories and contexts of where I needed to go. So that if right now I'm working on something else, I know it's going here and I can go back and process through the information when I have the time or when I've scheduled the time. And now I did this audit and I'm like, hold on. I have so many things that I'm needing to do again and again, right? It's a new month, it's a new week. And with both of those, it brings on another list of recurring things that need to get done on top of whatever other projects I've got going on, or the massive to-do list that keeps stacking of things that I didn't complete in the previous week. So the time audit really reveals what things need to be done over and over again. And I was able to identify and also name those different routines that I need to be doing over and over again. And what systems do I need to create that are going to lower the input that I'm putting in and then still keep the output the same, if not higher, or let it grow. And so routines is really an SOP, or it's really a process for your life, your business, all the different things that you specifically, you individually, either CEO or however you're working, what are the things that you need to do recurringly and create a routine for it. We've all seen on social media, on the TikToks, on the Reels, on the YouTube or whatever about morning routines and night routines and skincare routines and bedtime routines. You guys have heard the term routines many times in different ways, but are you creating routines for your day for things you have to do constantly? And within routines is the habits. So you've got a routine, you titled it, maybe it's your skincare routine, and you're like, okay, the skincare routine includes putting, washing my face, putting on a serum, putting on a moisturizer, whatever those different steps might look like. Those are the habits that you need to start doing consistently and compounding. We've got to create that routine. We got to figure out what are those routines we need to be doing. And that's really the system that you're going to show up and start executing out of. That's going to allow you to then use your second brain in those inboxes to filter the information, and is going to allow you to stay aligned with the priorities that you have. The fourth part of the winning your week method is, now that we have these three things kind of out of the way and we understand these and we've worked through these, we got to actually start planning our week and using a calendar system. And the reason why you've got to do those first three things is because if you're not doing that, you're just going to be trying to use a calendar system and blaming on the calendar. Or maybe you've heard me talk about the happy planner that I use, and you go out and purchase this planner and you're like, this planner doesn't work. It's the planner's fault. It's not the calendar. It's not the planner. It's you not doing the things that I just talked about first to really understand what are your routines? What is the information coming at you? What are your priorities? Where is your time actually going? And when you do that, now you can figure out how to plan your week properly and how to use any type of calendar system. Because everything we need to do, or everything that we do, happens in the context of time. And this is when I realized that we all have something I like to call a time inventory. Depending on your life, like I said before, all the different roles you play, all the different things that you have, every single one of us is going to have a different time inventory. And so I had to start taking all the work I did to kind of create the different sections I just talked about in my method. And I had to create what my ideal week looked like based off the time inventory I had. And this is when I took my routines and I took all my appointments and I took the time that I had blocked out for work, and I took the time that I had for being at home or being with my kids, or, wanting to travel or whatever that might look like. And I started to look at what in my calendar was booked time, which is where you have to be somewhere at a specific date at a specific time, like that's already booked. And what was my open time? How much time do I have left in my week where I can add in some more things that I can get done specifically? And so I created something I call my ideal week. And it's something that you should be creating too. After you do a time audit and after you know your routines, it's a lot easier for you to come on to a blank week in your calendar and look at between this time and this time is when I'm going to be working. Between this time and this time, I need to be here. Between this time and this time is the most ideal time for me to execute on this routine. And in the end, it allowed me, when I did this, to show up every day and every week to get to work and get moving, as I'm not just trying to get shit done, but I'm getting the shit done that I've pre-planned, that I've been proactive about, that I've already aligned, that I have the routines for, and I'm able to do a lot more quicker, with quality, efficiently, and I'm able to create that space with my time. And every week when I do this, I am compounding the weeks that I'm winning over and over and over again. And it allows me to reach the goals that I want to reach. So when you do this, when you follow this method and you actually get through every single tier I'm talking about, and you learn how to apply this into your life and how to apply this into this entire system of how you're going to win your week after week, what happens is you start to execute quickly, effectively, and you reach your goals. It allows you to focus and know the things that you are doing and getting done are done with suddenly less chaos and overwhelm. You know what you need to do, you know where it is that you need to do it, you know how it is you need to do it, and suddenly that whole this just needs to be complicated because it's hard mentality changed to wow, this can actually be easy. And I have time now to just sit and be if I want to. And I don't feel the need to fill it because I just got done the things I know I need to get done. And I feel confident, I feel good about myself, and I know what's coming tomorrow, and I know what's coming the next week. All of these things are going to get tackled. And you start becoming a master executor. And not because you're just banging your head through the wall and white knuckling it to get there, but you're really stepping into being a CEO and being a business owner and not just having a business that owns you. And now I know while doing this that I'm maximizing the time I have, and I even begin to create extra space in my calendar for the things that I enjoy. Things start to become more joyful. I feel more fulfilled. And as you create more space in your calendar, because either you're filtering out things you're saying no to anymore, you're realizing you can outsource these $10 an hour tasks, you're starting to show up more effectively and get things done quicker. You can start strategically placing more things on your calendar that you want to do. That's how I've gone from one business to 5. That's how I've raised, going from 1 kid to 3. And I always know where I am at, what am I executing on, what am I completing, and what's coming up. And I create this place that I'm coming to when I'm working as being proactive instead of reactive. You start to create certain boundaries. You start to filter out things that are not working for you. You start to say heck yes to the things that you want to be doing, and you start saying heck no to the things you already know based off your time audit and your routines and the things that you're choosing and your priorities that you are going to be doing. Are there sections of this method that you're like, wow, this is something I didn't do and I should be doing, or this is something that I've been doing, but there's something that I've been missing? I can't express more to all of you as someone who's been in business, who has made millions, who has been able to build this life that I absolutely adore, how important to me my time is. My time is worth more than every dollar in my bank account. And then on top of my time is my energy. I want to be able to show up full of energy, passionate, excited about what I'm doing, feeling confident, feeling accomplished, not just because the dollars in my bank account, but because the energy that I have to do the things that I want to do and the time that I'm investing into the things that I'm doing. And as you go through this method every single week, as you're doing these things and as you're creating this system, you're going to start seeing what's working for you and what's not working for you. And you're going to start making better decisions on where to spend your time. And eventually, you can get to a place like I'm in, where on Friday afternoon, I was like, hey guys, you don't have school on Monday. We're freaking going to Disneyland. And I had a wide open week this week. I work 2 hours a month in my insurance agency. Now, yes, I'm leveraging a lot of people, But if I didn't get clear on my priorities and what it was I wanted my business to do for me, and I owned the business, then I leveraged the people based off of the systems. And not only that, but I taught my team how to win their week after week. I wouldn't have been able to do that. This month, with a team of 2 salespeople, 1 service person, and a part-time employee that helps with data tracking and things like that, we crossed over, and it's only January 24th, $900,000 in written premium. For those of you in the insurance industry, you know what that means. We generated $100,000 of new business premium in 24 days at the beginning of this year already. When you step into the place that you need to be as a CEO, when you've mastered your time, when you've set your priorities, when you've created routines, when you've been able to get your calendar to be where you want it to be, and you're prioritizing the shit that's important, these are the type of results that you can get. Now, it's taken years. Okay, don't get it twisted. It is work, but it's strategic, aligned work that you're probably not doing right now. And the reason I know that is because I was there. So many of my clients are there. And it's not just about getting a planner. It's not just about saying, okay, I'm going to download this software and just start using it. No, you have to create the system for you. What does your week look like? How do you keep making it better and better and removing stuff while still being able to do the stuff you need to be doing that's going to give you the stuff that you want? It's really very simple. It's just people don't know where to start. People don't know how to actually set their priorities. They don't know how to audit their time. They don't know how to create a second brain. They don't even know what I'm talking about because I didn't even know what it was before I really started researching and doing it for myself. What we did, this is part of agency by design, but what we did was we took winning your week and we separated it from agency by design. So you can actually get into the winning your week program. We have a winning your week program coming up, and it's all about how to plan and get it done. And I specifically teach you how to create the system. We go through all 4 of these sections specifically for you. And I get into the deep information and the psychology and the tools and the tactics and all of the things that you need to know on how to create this stuff. And so I'm going to help take the guesswork out of all of it because I've already done it. So let me save you the 13 years, all the money and time and energy that I've put into figuring this out so that you can scale with ease and understand what system you need and how to create it. And the result becomes you getting the gift of time and getting the gift of time to spend it back on the things that you truly enjoy. Being able to go to Disneyland with your kids, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's just going to the spa. Maybe it's just going to lunch with a friend once a week. Whatever, sleep in, take a nap, do your thing. And you're going to start feeling accomplished and at ease that the energy and the work that you're putting in are helping you get closer to where you want to be while having time to, again, go to that yoga class you've been wanting to try, and then maybe even go have coffee with your spouse in the middle of the day of the week. For any of you interested in finding out more how I can help you break each of these 4 pieces into your life and into your calendar and into how you can use this method for yourself, we start on February 8th. And this is the only time that I'm teaching this live. It's 4 weeks, 1 hour a week for 4 weeks, starting February 8th. And you're going to have high proximity to me, be able to ask all your questions. I'm going to walk you through and I'm going to hold your hand. So if you're interested in finding out more about the Winning Your Week program, go ahead and just comment WYW. So Winning Your Week, WYW, and we'll get with you and send you all the information. Like, just so all of you know too, I have a ton of YouTube videos. I just did a YouTube video a couple weeks ago showing you how I planned January and like how I started the different section. And honestly, my planner changes constantly. I'm going to be doing a video this upcoming week about planning for February, and I've already made some changes because as I kind of audited my time and audited my system, I was like, hold on, this thing's not working. Or as I was using my second brain to filter out more information, there was parts of January I was like, okay, the system isn't working for me. So I went into my second brain. For those of you that don't know what my second brain is, I actually use a system called Notion. And it doesn't matter what you use. I don't care what it is. And I went into Notion and I created a little tab and I said, things I want to change in my planner. Guess what I did? I created an inbox for my thoughts about my planner. Because at the moment, as these thoughts are coming in, I can't process them right now. And I don't want my brain to keep reminding me about the thing I want to change my planner when I'm trying to create social media content, or I'm in a meeting with a client, or I'm trying to close an $800,000 policy, or when I'm showering and suddenly all your thoughts and ideas come to you. I don't know what it is about running water, but it just does it for me. It just like lets my brain flood me with all the thoughts and ideas and all the, oh shit, I forgot to do that. I better not forget. I better remember. All of it goes in my second brain, and then all of it gets processed and filtered because I created a system. And it's the same thing that we're going to teach you guys how to do. And again, if it was a time issue, you wouldn't have time to be sitting here talking to me. It's not that, it's a capacity issue. And I'm going to help you learn how to build the systems. But if you go through those 4 sections, if you start researching, you start learning about the 4 different things I talked about in this method, you're still going to be better off than you were before you got on this training. And you're going to start making changes, and you're going to start making reiterations to your winning your week system. Where's your time going right now? Go do a time audit. Pull out a piece of paper and just start writing down what you're doing for the next week. I'm super excited about this. If you can't tell, I geek out on productivity. You can't tell, I'm super passionate about where my time goes. I'm showing up for you guys. I think this is really important. And I want you to be able to find success, but also find joy in your life. I think too many people have been talking about work-life balance. It's not about work-life balance. It is your life. Part of your life is work. Part of your life is being a parent. Part of your life might be being a spouse. Part of your life might be being a daughter. Part of your life might be someone who loves to travel. Part of your life might be someone who really loves the outdoors or fitness or whatever, being social. This is not work-life balance. This is about building a life you love, and your business is part of it. Let us know if you have any questions. I hope you guys still have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you guys in the next training. Bye, everyone.